Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Becoming with Ark. This is a place where we unlearn, we learn, heal, grow, and become everything God has called us to be. If this is your first time here, welcome home. And if you've been part of this family, thank you for always coming back with an open heart. This is officially the third and final series of an open letter to parents. And honestly, this conversation may make some people uncomfortable, but always necessary. So, wherever you are, pause the noise for a moment, sit down, listen intentionally, learn, unlearn, heal, and grow. Yes, grow. This is what Becoming with Ark is all about, because today we're talking about parents and spiritual authorities meddling into relationships in the name of hearing God. And before I continue, let me say this clearly. This is not rebellion against parents. This is not dishonor towards spiritual authority. This is a call for wisdom, discernment, and personal intimacy with God. I recently came across two stories online. The first was about a man who had been in a relationship with a woman for 2 good years. They had built together, planned together, and obviously saw a future together. Then suddenly, his mother came and told him, "A prophet or my prophet said, she is not your wife." After 2 good old years relationship, and just like that, the relationship ended. There was no personal conviction, there was no seeking God for himself, there was no discernment, just fear. And honestly, that disturbed me deeply. Because how do you walk away from a 2 years relationship? You call them your future, and then one prophecy from somebody else destroys everything. This is why many people are emotionally wounded today. Not because God separated them, but because people are making life decisions based on external voices instead on personal conviction. Then the second story was completely different from the one I just narrated. A man was told by someone he respected spiritually, "If you marry this woman you're engaged with, your life will scatter. Your life will have no meaning." But instead of panicking, this man did something different. He went back to God for himself. He prayed, he sought confirmation, he checked what God had already placed in his heart, and eventually he married the woman. Against all voices, he married the woman, and shockingly, everything began to work out for him. Contrary to what he was told, peace came, growth came, progress came, completely opposite of the prophecy spoken over him. And this story raised an important question. How many people are living under words God never actually spoke? Because not every spiritual voice is God's voice. Let me say this carefully. Parental guidance is important. I'm not disputing that fact. Spiritual authority is important. In fact, counsel is also important. But none of them should replace your personal conviction or personal relationship with God. The difference between the first man and the second man was simple. One depended completely on external voices. The other knew God enough to go back and seek him personally. That is the difference between the two. One of the biggest mistakes many parents make is raising children who can obey instructions but cannot discern God for themselves. So the child grows up afraid of authority instead of learning how to know God personally. This happens most especially in African homes. Some parents move from one mountain to another, from one prophecy to another, from one spiritual house to another. And instead of guiding their children, they control them emotionally with fear. Parents are meant to guide, not become God in their children's life. Teach your children how to pray. Teach them how to discern. Teach them how to build personal conviction with God. Because if somebody must always hear God for you, then your spiritual growth is incomplete. The Bible speaking in Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 34, the Bible says, they shall all know me for themselves. They shall all know me for themselves, not only through their parents, not only through pastors, not only through prophets or any spiritual authorities, but for themselves. And to every children listening to me right now, especially adults, not every prophecy should create panic. Go back to God. Go back to God. Pray again. Seek confirmation. Test every word that comes your way. The Bible made it clear in 1 John chapter 4 verse 1 that test every spirit. You are to test every spirit because manipulation often sounds spiritual. Even people with good intentions can be wrong sometimes. We need to know that people with good intentions can be very wrong sometimes. Parents can love deeply and still miss it. Spiritual leaders can be respected and still be wrong. That is why every believer must develop personal intimacy with God. Not a borrowed conviction, not second-hand revelation, a real and a personal relationship with God. So before you break someone's heart because someone said, ask yourself, did God truly speak to me, or am I simply afraid? And maybe this episode is a wake-up call for someone. Now, to parents, raise children who know God for themselves. To every spiritual leaders out there, guide people, don't control them. And to this generation, develop your own altar with God, because the safest place to be is under divine conviction, not human fear. So, thank you for staying with me through this entire Open Letter to Parents series. If this episode blessed you, challenged you, or taught you something, please share with somebody. Let healing happen in homes. Let understanding grow between parents and children. And always remember, healing is possible. Growth is possible. Becoming as well is possible. Once again, this is Becoming with Ark, and I will see you in the next episode. Stay healing, stay growing, and keep becoming.